Hey guys, my name is Ryan Coughlin, and I decided to do my forensics PowerPoint on the Equifax data breach. There's some background on the company. Equifax is one of the major corporations based here in Atlanta, Georgia, which is also home to Home Depot, Delta, UPS, Coca-Cola. Take your pick. According to Wikipedia, Equifax is one of the three largest consumer credit reporting agencies, along with Experian and TransUnion. The former CISO before all this kind of really went down was Susan Maudlin, and since post breach, Jamil Farshi came in. In 2005, former Equifax CEO Richard Smith embarked on an aggressive growth strategy leading to the acquisition of multiple companies, information technology systems, and data. Um, we see in today's world, especially working in the corporate setting, that big corporations like to go through and absorb smaller companies and kind of bring them in under their umbrella. And while this is good for your overall profit and your stock price, it actually makes a huge headache and strain on your IT people because of the segmentation that you have between the different IT networks from when you absorb other companies. And it also, you know, greatly increases your risk for data breaches because now you're dealing with other systems that you really don't know the inner workings of, and patches and legacy software and things of that nature. In 2018 of August, 3 weeks before Equifax publicly announced the breach, Richard Smith boasted that Equifax was managing almost 1,200 times the amount of data held in the Library of Congress every day. Not the smartest thing to have said, which basically puts a target on your back. The whole origin of the case really boils down to a legacy software vulnerability that wasn't patched. Um, on March 7th, 2017, a critical vulnerability in the Apache Struts software was publicly disclosed. For those who don't know, Apache Struts is an open source MVC framework for creating elegant modern Java web applications. Think of Apache Struts as the software that connects the operating system and the app. The Department of Homeland Security informs Equifax to get that critical vulnerability patched immediately. A scan of Equifax's network for the vulnerable version of Apache was run on March 9th, but it did not return the vulnerable version in question. Hate to say this, but due to the human error, the scan did not properly scan the correct environment. Um, that's really, really, really bad. We all know that human error is one of the highest risks and potential vulnerabilities to an IT network. Interim CSO Russ Aries stated that the scan missed identifying the vulnerability because the scan was run on the root directory, not on the subdirectory where Apache Struts was listed. In other words, it just targeted the root, or basically the head of the drive, the operating system, and it didn't scan the correct subdirectories where it was sitting and where it should have hit on the actual vulnerable Apache Struts version. On September 7th, 2017, Equifax notified the public about the data breach affecting an estimated 143 million customers, a number which was later increased to 148 million. That number is horrible and just was, yeah, bad. The attackers had access to a lot of PII, or personal identifiable information. Um, For those who don't know, PII is any information about an individual that can be used to distinguish or trace an individual's identity, such as name, social security number, date, and place of birth, mother's maiden name, biometric records, and any other information that is linked or linkable to an individual, such as medical, financial, education, or employment information. Anything that allows someone to steal your identity. Some of the data that was accessed by the attackers was names, social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, and driver's license. According to the House of Representatives, Equifax said the attackers accessed over 209 credit card numbers and 182 credit dispute documents which contain PII. This is a huge number that should never have. This whole breach should never have happened, and a lot of this data was exfilled or data exfiltration. For those who don't know what it is, the case was discovered by the following means. The attackers remained in Equifax's environment for 76 days before being detected, which is an extremely long time for a company the size of Equifax not to have known they were breached and had malicious people inside their network. On July 29th, 2017, Equifax's countermeasures teams uploaded 67 new SSL certificates to their appliances, which allowed the team to detect a suspicious request from an IP address originating in China. So for 76 days, they had at least one expired SSL certificate, which is just something else that should have been caught and should have been detected long before it was going to expire. On July 30th, 2017, the Equifax forensic team discovered exfiltrated data likely containing PII. Equifax observed additional instances of suspicious traffic originating from a second IP address owned by a German internet service provider but led to a Chinese provider. Since most companies don't investigate their own data breaches, Equifax enlisted the help of Mandiant to come in and help with the incident. For those who don't know, Mandiant is an American cybersecurity firm that rose to prominence in February 2013. Mandiant has also done other breaches, such as the Home Depot. Equifax conducted a vulnerability testing of the ACIS application, which revealed flaws in the ACIS code, rendering the system vulnerable to SQL injection and insecure direct object reference attacks. Um, During the 2000s and the late uh, teens in the 2000s, SQL injection was a huge point of entry for data breaches. The incident response team found a non-Equifax Java server page, which, if put in the correct place on the server, could create a web shell that can run commands to an authorized user, most likely placed in there by the malicious attackers. The computer forensic techniques that were used in this investigation, as we said before, Mandiant was brought in to handle the forensic investigation. They were there between August 3rd of 2017 and October 2nd of 2017. The techniques that they used were full disk imaging of servers and workstations in question. They did full copies of preserved databases. They did RAM imaging and analysis, log analysis, and network capture or PCAP analysis. There was a lot of challenges faced during this investigation. As they put in the report, the forensic analysis conducted in the aftermath of the Equifax data breach was challenging due to the complexity of the Equifax IT environment. Any corporation or business the size of Equifax is going to have this issue. I like to say when dealing with an IT environment the size of Equifax, it's extremely difficult given all the different moving parts, segmented networks, and subnets. The main issue with an IT network of that caliber is that it makes doing computer forensics extremely difficult. This table is actually from the House of Representatives report. The result in the investigation was here are the different types of elements that were stolen, including name, date of birth, social security number, address information, and gender. Um, the fact that 146 million names, date of birth, 145 million and a half social security numbers, 99 million addresses, 27.3 million gender identities, 20.3 million phone numbers, 17.6 driver license numbers, 1.8 million email addresses, 209,000 credit card numbers, 97,500 tax IDs, and then 27,000 driver licenses for the states. The total number of PII records exfiltrated from the Equifax data breach was over 605 million, 33 and 500 million records. That is an astronomically high number. They also during the breach found a 2015 patch management audit finding spreadsheet, which was found to reveal interesting information. Again, this is taken from the House of Representatives report. The number one, vulnerabilities were not remediated in a timely manner. This was supposed to be completed back by 2016 by implementing automated patching tools and retiring legacy systems as quickly as possible. I'm going to just pause for a second and let that sink into everyone's head. If that had been implemented correctly, then yes, this breach would not have happened the way that it did. I'm not saying they wouldn't have been breached at some point, but the initial attack vector would have been blocked. Going through, you see there is 7 different audit findings, and all of them were things that kind of deal along the Apache struts and just kind of like patch management in general, which is, again, something that should have been taken care of way before this happened, especially when you're dealing with legacy software. Mandiant gave remedial recommendations. There was 11 that they should implement post-breach, and they are all extremely important. They are, in order, enhancing vulnerability scanning and patch management processes and procedures, reduce the scope of sensitive data retained in back-end databases, increase restrictions and controls for accessing data housed within critical databases, enhance network segmentation to restrict access from internet signatures to block attacks, deploy additional web application firewalls, and tuning signatures to block attacks, accelerating the deployment of file integrity monitoring technologies on the application and web servers, enforce additional network, application, database, and system level logging, accelerate deployment of privileged account management solutions, enhance visibility for encrypted traffic by deploying additional inline network traffic decryption capabilities, deploy additional endpoint detection and response agent technologies. That is a huge one. And to deploy additional email protection and monitoring technologies. In my opinion, I would say the interesting facts about this case are the entire breach could have been prevented. Senior and executive leadership could have been more involved with IT. You'll see a lot in corporation settings. There is a constant fight between business and IT as a whole, and then the rest of IT and cybersecurity as a whole. That's a whole nother thing to go into detail about on a different PowerPoint. Training could have been a turning point factor, meaning the IT people and just all employees, Equifax as a whole, could have had better like IT cybersecurity training on this, which might have helped prevent stuff. Um, as you boast about the amount of data that you have, the more of a target you put on your back. And when you find out about patches that need to be done and other risk report findings, do them as soon as possible. If you're working for a corporation or even for the government, learn from this example. Work diligently to remove legacy software from your environment. Follow up on high priority emails. Ensure that your engineers and IT people apply the correct patches and document the testing and the patches that took place. Here you can see my works cited that I used to do